if you're watching this video, you have probably realized by now that people don't trust claims anymore. And at this point, basically everyone has been ripped off at least once in the online space. So the days when you could just pose in front of a Lambo and make six figures in a weekend are completely gone, over. They don't exist. So getting clients, especially on Instagram, is getting harder than ever. Well, at least for the ones who can't keep up with the times. Because you see, although market conditions constantly keep changing and meta ads don't work as well as they used to, and organic content is also getting more saturated, at the end of the day, human psychology always stays the same, and everyone knows this. It is only the medium that changes. So, in this video, I'm going to reveal what most are still missing, although it's so obvious, because in 2026, there's a unique opportunity for you to get clients in a cheaper, more cost-effective manner and more efficient manner than ever before. So in this video, I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to show you how Ollie took his business from 18K to 60K per month in 30 days, and how Leonard went from literally zero to making 10K in 7 days, and also Alex, who took his business to 55K per month. Because again, although things keep changing all the time, the same marketing principles still apply, and there is still a way on Instagram specifically to convert people not only quickly, but also efficiently and in an extremely cost-effective manner. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down everything. This is the exact method that in Ollie's case, not only got him to 60K per month in 30 days, but also got him 8 calls on his calendar in 3 days. He had an 8.1K day over here on the screenshots. Then over here, Leonard, my friend, you can look these guys up on Instagram, by the way. That's the beauty of it, because that's how confident I am in these results. You can go to this video, see all the calls that we've been booking, or even John, who closed a 22K deal in literally 1 day. And Alex, again, he took his business to 55K in 30 days. And again, you can look these guys up on Instagram and see exactly what they are doing, because we're not trying to hide anything. At the end of the day, there is new tactics every single day. And even if you watch this video, this is something where I want to show you how to approach marketing in 2026 so you never get left behind. This is not a one-size-fits-all solution. This is a mindset that I want to show you in the ugly content funnel, because the ugly content funnel is not just a simple funnel. I'll get into the details later. So before we get into the roadmap and actually what the hell to do and how to make money on Instagram today, let's just break down the numbers for making 50K a month, because a lot of people operate in the vague. They operate in fear because they do not exactly know what are the exact numbers that they need to hit in order to get to their goal. So 50K per month is with a ticket price of 3.3K and a 40% close rate and a show up rate of 85%, which, by the way, is extremely realistic, especially considering the Instagram funnel. So then the amount of new clients that you need to have is, well, roughly 16, sales calls 40, and the calls on calendar will be 47, which essentially means you only need to book 1.57 calls a day. So if you're booking most days 2 calls, Sunday 1 call is perfectly enough. You don't need to have more. So a lot of people are extremely overwhelmed with 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, because 100 grand a month with these numbers is literally just booking 3 calls a day. That is really very manageable. That is not that bad. So, but there's one very specific problem, especially when you try to do this on your own. So you see on Instagram or on YouTube, you look at all these gurus like Iman Gadzhi, Dan Koe, and Daniel Dalen, and the problem with these guys is not that they're giving bad advice. That's not the case whatsoever. But a lot of people will get carried away in how they execute their strategy, because these guys already have momentum. They already have a personal brand. These guys are not building from zero. And you, if you are a business owner alone, or you just have 1 or 2 team members, the advice that these guys are giving you, typically, you cannot just implement by yourself. You need a whole team. And a lot of people will get carried away because they want to emulate what these guys are doing. They want to emulate what Iman Gadzhi is doing, what Dan Koe is doing, and Daniel Dalen, without realizing that their resources, the things that they have at their disposal, are completely different. So their way of their action plan should look completely different as well. And this is exactly where the ugly content funnel comes into play. Because the ugly content funnel is not just a funnel, it's a mindset. As Eugene Schwartz explained in Breakthrough Advertising, people don't buy products, they buy beliefs about products. So they buy the belief what that product could do in their life for them personally, right? How they would feel once they acquire the product or service. So when the outcome is desired and the vehicle is trusted and the risk is removed, then the sale becomes inevitable. By the way, this is also what Alex Hormozi keeps on talking about, right? Like the desire outcome times perceived likelihood of achievement divided by time delay and effort and sacrifice. So it's the exact same thing, because if the outcome is desired and the vehicle is trusted and the risk is removed, the sale becomes inevitable. And you have to keep this in mind, because a lot of people totally forget this when they are building their personal brand. Because notice that this statement does not say the following. It does not say that people buy if they like the look of something, if they like the branding of something. No, the statement does not say that. And also the statement doesn't say that people buy if they believe that you are a good person. You have most likely seen a lot of business people where, it's questionable if they are a good person or not. And I'm totally advocating for being a good person, but it is not a requirement for someone to buy from you. And number three, also, people don't the statement doesn't say that people buy when they have been in your ecosystem for X time. A lot of people, especially in the online space, seem to have this belief that things need time. But in reality, things take time. Nothing needs time. People need to trust you. Yes, and that takes time. But it's not time itself that the person needs with you. It is the trust. And trust can be built slowly or more quickly, right? So let's expand our perspectives a little bit more. And let's identify two ways of approaching any funnel, any coaching business, anything that you are trying to build. The number one approach is the pretty content funnel. This is the looks first approach. This approach, you first start with the arbitrary professionalism, right? You make sure first, this is your priority, you make sure things adhere to some arbitrary standard of perceived professionalism, right? This does not have to do anything with reality. This is just in your mind. Like, for example, your content has to look a certain way to be effective, but this is just made up in your mind. Step number two is you then try to achieve the desired results within those arbitrary limits, right? So you start with the wrong thing, in my opinion. You're not starting with a purpose, you're starting with some random arbitrary standard of professionalism, which if you watch these guys and you want to make the exact level of content that they are making, then you might fall into that trap, right? So the ugly content funnel, the difference between the pretty content funnel and the ugly content funnel is that the ugly content funnel starts with the purpose. It starts with the purpose, and then you allocate your resources to achieve the desired result. So you always start with what am I trying to achieve here and what do I have at my disposal to use to get closer to that goal. So let's take an example and make it very practical here. So example, you have a task in front of you. You have to build a 4-block long fence. It's a very random example, but in my opinion, it visualizes the problem pretty clearly. So if you have to build a 4-block long fence and you have 5 pieces of resources at your disposal, the looks first approach person would do the following, right? They would first make sure things adhere to some arbitrary standard of perceived professionalism, which in this regard, in this case, is driven by ego, because they want their fence to be tall, right? They need the fence to be at least 2 blocks tall, because otherwise they don't want to be associated with it. Well, the problem is that you only have 5 pieces of resources, so one of them will be missing. And your fence will not be 4 blocks long. You can only make it 3 blocks long in this instance. But if you start with the purpose first, you start with what is the goal? The goal is to build a 4-block long fence. Then you lay out your 4 blocks, you start with the purpose, and then you make it look nice. And you'll see that actually you have already achieved the main goal, and you also have an extra piece of resource that you didn't end up using, right? So if you start with the goal instead of some arbitrary standard of how things need to look and how you need to do things, then you're able to be more agile. You're able to achieve your goal and have access. And this is the exact principle that the ugly content funnel supports. Because on the ugly content funnel, your content does not need to be ugly if you're using this funnel or your landing pages. Everything that you're doing in your coaching business, it does not have to be ugly, but you're not starting with the looks. You're starting with the purpose. You're starting with what is this for? And in this funnel, in this system specifically, where I'm going over the traffic, I'm going over the conversion, this is the point of the ugly content funnel. We start with what is this for in the first place, and how then we make it as good as possible. So, for example, in the traffic, you can see my previous client, Ollie, over here. We started with the branding. We started at the core of his content. We don't start with what camera is he shooting with. We started with who is he personally? Who is he in his business? What is RGS, Ready Go Set, his appointment setting coaching business, right? And then we identified his main messaging components. Like, what is at the core of his brand? Not only where does he stand, what sort of personality is he trying to convey, but also what does he stand for? What does he stand against? So what are our forces that are pulling him forward, and what is forces from which he wants to push himself away? So in this case, his heaven island was having no boss, working from abroad, providing, like, this is speaking to his ICP. And the hell of his ideal client profile is feeling told what to do, being stuck in the UK because he's speaking to UK lads, 18 to 24, and being dependent on others. These are representative of the hell that his ideal client profile could experience if they would get to that point. Now, supporters on someone's journey from hell to heaven are, for example, the high ticket sales space itself, entrepreneurship, brotherhood, and the villains here are social norms and systems in the UK / soulless corporate jobs. Now, here's an extremely important part that a lot of people completely miss, because this is the part where you just assume that everyone understands your client. You just assume that everyone believes you. But that's just not true, because you're a random person on a random Instagram reel appearing on someone's profile. So why would they trust you? Why would they trust your claims? It's 2026. No one cares about the Lambo in the background. I've just told you that, right? So what do? You substantiate your claims. You don't expect people to believe you at face value. You substantiate whatever it is that you're trying to convey. How do you do this? You do it by using third-party data, right? Like actual data from here in Google, or you use the news, which is also quite factual, right? Third-party sources, or you also show how your opportunity, your vehicle that you're promoting, has a broader significance. So, for example, Ollie over here is an appointment setting coach, right? Like, it's a high ticket sales position that he's trying to promote and get people into. So, if he shows how people are using these appointment setters to sell different things, then it will make more sense for people to join and to believe him, because they may not believe Ollie, but they will definitely believe Brass Scales, who has about 1 million followers, right? Because Ollie only has like 10 grand. So this is how you use broader significance and messaging amplifiers to substantiate your claims, instead of just expecting people to believe you at face value and just blending in with everyone around you, right? So a lot of people always talk about how you should not blend in with your branding. Well, what if you can also excel and be unique in the way that you position your arguments and actually substantiate your claims, right? Now, only after these two do we get to execution. And in the execution, it is also extremely important that we start with the idea. We then, after we have that idea from either other viral reels, top Google searches, live events that Ollie has gone through, or just spontaneously thinking of something, then we identify the intent. Like, what is the purpose of this content? Is this just randomly just posting? Are we posting for authority, to build authority? Are we posting to get engagement? Or are we posting to get conversions from this piece of content? Are we trying to sell something? Maybe a lead magnet, maybe an opt-in to a school, or maybe even his one-on-one mentorship, right? And after we have gotten the idea and identified the intent, that is the only point where we then substantiate the claims. We think about different client testimonials that we can use, different third-party resources that we can use to make it more believable, whatever it is that we're trying to tell people. And then, only then, we go to the framework and the script, right? A lot of people just start with the script right away. They stare at the blank Google Doc, but they have no idea what to write there. Well, don't start with the blank Google Doc. Start with the idea, then with the intent. What is the purpose here? And then substantiate the claim, and then you're able to move into the framework and script. At this point, it should be super edited, because you know what you're going to talk about. You know what the purpose of the whole video is, the why. So you know the why, how, and what. The how would be the actual substantiation of the claim, like in what context, right? So that is the organic, how we create content on Instagram. And as a next step, the reels that perform well, right? Like the winners. So for example, you can go over here, you see the winners. we track the winners by actually identifying the reels that have given us the most qualified followers, because at the end of the day, qualified followers are the closest that we get to actual leads on Instagram. And then these posts will be boosted, right? Like we will run paid awareness campaigns where we put money behind these posts that not only show authority, but also give people context as to what the hell is it even that Ali does, right? So budget is about like $50 a day to begin with, then you can scale that. And obviously be very cautious of tracking fatigue. Now, I'm not going to go into that much detail into this video. There is a link down below if you want to schedule in a consultation call with me, where I can either just reveal these things to you or also identify opportunities where you can use these strategies in your own business. But for that, just go down below, because I will not be able to show you like breakdowns of ad accounts in this specific video, maybe in the next one, right? So this is the traffic part. Now you should understand what the process is of coming up with video ideas and achieving a purpose, right? The purpose is here to get people to watch, get people to believe that you are an authority, and then also to convert them, right? This is top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content. Now, once you have built an ecosystem of people, and there are people all around you, people know about you, the next thing that you want to do is to convert them, right? Like you want to get actual sales. And the number one way that we do this, especially if you want to go to 50 grand a month, again, I'm referencing this 1.57 calls is not that difficult to book through DMs. You don't need a complicated call funnel. You don't need a complicated VSL. You don't need to run like ads or to webinars. It's completely unnecessary. 50 grand a month from IGBM is extremely realistic. And I'm going to show you the example of how Leonard is actually getting the conversions from his content, right? So you can actually go to Leonard's page and look at this video, which got 37K views, well, almost 700 comments. And in this video, he's just promoting a very simple lead magnet that is extremely relevant for his audience. And these are the inbound combos. Now, beside the inbound combos, of course, we do have the outbound combos as well, where we initiate conversations with people that are already in the ecosystem. These are people that have newly followed, that have liked, or just in general been in the ecosystem and engaged with any of Leonard's content. You can translate this into English. For the people that don't know how to speak German, because Leonard is a German learning coach, here is the entire script. You can pause this video, go through it yourself. This is the entire appointment setting script that we are using for him. Of course, we establish the overarching goal. We dig a little bit deeper as to what the problem is. Then we develop the problem, right? Like make it a little bit more tangible. We got the tangibles as to what it is tangibly that they want to achieve and what it is tangibly that is holding them back currently. And we widen the gap. And then we go for the call booking. So this is exactly how Leonard is currently booking between 1 to 2 calls a day. Again, on track to make 50 grand a month. Now, if you're curious as to how we are tracking this, we are tracking this by having end of day forms of the setter. Here's an example where he has booked 2 calls and basically just working 2 hours. So if you are doing this alone and you do not have an appointment setter, you can do this. It's 2 hours in the house. Not that much work. But the problem is that Leonard is in university still, right? Like he's building a 50 grand a month learning coaching business in university. And you, as someone who is doing it full time, cannot even scale to 50 grand a month by yourself. So this is the difference, right? These systems are what make the difference. And of course, after this, you ideally have a qualified sales com. And I really hope that if you're watching this video, you do have a tracking sheet tracking those qualified sales calls. But if you don't, message me. I'm going to send this to you for free. I'm okay with you stealing everything that I have over here. I'm not charging for information at all, ever. So this is just for context. I'm only charging for implementation. So if you like this video, this is what the ugly content funnel stands for. And I hope that you got some clarity as to what the first things are that you should be doing in your business, which is setting the purpose, setting the goal of every single action that you do. And if on your journey you would like a second look, a second perspective, then you can go down below. I'm taking a couple of consultation calls where we're going to be going over your business, not only going over these strategies, but also what works for you, starting with your purpose first, and we'll put your roadmap together. Subscribe if you would like to see more of these videos, and see you next one. Bye-bye.